residents of MeepleTown, today we're going to be talking about Dinosaur Island, which a couple years ago, Pandasaurus Games ran a Kickstarter, and it went gangbusters. And so people really wanted another Kickstarter so they could get all the goodies. And so...
get on the dinosaur train!
So the dinosaur train left the station, and they ran another Kickstarter, and that's what we're going to be talking about. But in Dinosaur Island, 2 to 4 players are going to be building up their dino-themed theme parks and try to have the most visitors by the end of the game. John, why don't you tell us about art and components for this game?
My name really is Jonathan, but most people call me John, so that's why he all of a sudden, Dean just turned into my mom. I don't know what the deal is with that. Arts and components are great. I mean, look here at these beautiful colors. The components have nice thick boards. The dinosaurs are solid. You've got nice notches on your board so that the DNA doesn't just go falling off or sliding off the board. I really don't have much to complain about the art and the components. I think they're all extremely solid. And dude, 90s style, I grew up in the 90s. I'm all over that. So yes. Yeah, super good.
And I would agree, the art's not for everybody. As you can, read some posts on the internet about the art style of Dinosaur Island. But we really like it. And the dice are really chunky. And when you pick up this box, of course I have the Kickstarter the Kickstarter version, the extreme edition, and that has the metal coins in it. So when you pick up this box, it is one of the heaviest boxes for its size that I have in my collection. But I really enjoy the art and components as well.
Yeah. What do you think about the gameplay then?
Yeah, so the gameplay is really interesting. It plays over several phases, and each phase is pretty different. So like in the first phase, you have these little scientists, and there's a level 1, 2, 3 scientists, and depending on their level, you'll place those next to a dice for DNA to be able to build dinosaurs later in the game. If you put a level 3 next to a 1 DNA, you're going to get 3 times that DNA, which I think is a pretty interesting part of the game.
Yeah, that's interesting because you also have those dinosaurs, and some of the dinosaurs cost more, so you have to have a 1 or 2 or 3 scientists there. So if you want to do a 3 times DNA, but really want that 3 dinosaur, now you've got an interesting dilemma on your hand. What are you going to do, especially if you're playing with several people and someone else may take that dinosaur? I like it.
Yeah, the part that I don't like about that is that you pick the same dice for the entire game. So what you don't use in that first round, you just put back in the box, and then every round you're rolling the same dice. But all the dice are different. And so I kind of wish that you would mix that up a little bit, maybe a little more like it's done in Dinosaur, I guess.
I agree 100%.
But I still really enjoy that phase.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's this phase that's pretty cool that has a lot of decisions to be made. Like you can purchase DNA in this game. You can buy upgrades so that maybe if you place a worker, it'll upgrade up your security level 1. At the same time, you're making a decision whether to purchase a specialist card. So you have a lot of things going on, and they're actually even kind of ordered to where the cheaper stuff is up top. And if they're not purchased, everything shifts up. So you're thinking, well, later in the game, can I get this specialist cheaper? And you only can pick 2 things to do.
Yes.
So what do you think about that? That's a fun part.
Two things. So in a in a 2-player game, you're only going to have 4 things that are taken out of a total of 16 options that are available, and so those are some really interesting decisions.
Yeah.
And then I like when that carries over. So if you build upgrades to your player board, the next phase is the worker placement phase. Yay. And so everybody's board starts off the same, but as you're upgrading your player board, each of the spaces are going to be different on everyone's boards. And so I really think that's a cool element of the game, because you have to plan out for the future, what spaces do I want available on my board? And with a specialist, you might gain extra workers, and so you start off with 4. But as you gain more specialists, you might have 7 or potentially, I think maybe 8's the max, but that's a lot of workers that you're going to have more than everyone else.
And I love good worker placement. After a couple rounds, you really get into the strategy. And it's going to be affected by what other people are picking during that phase. So, and I think it changes every time. Right. I'm not saying it dramatically, but there are definitely a lot of paths to victory in this game. And I really like that. And I love the worker placement because based on, again, what you upgrade, then you got to decide where am I going to place those workers? Am I going to place a worker? If I want to create a dinosaur, I've got to place a worker to create a dinosaur. If I want to get more money, I've got to place a worker to get more money. But then you can upgrade the placement And I love that because then you're making interesting decisions as well because you're like, ooh, do I want to upgrade this? But then I lose the bonus that I had there.
Right.
So really good, really fun phase. That's my favorite phase, I think, is placing those workers right after I've made those decisions.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then in the last phase, as you're building dinosaurs throughout the game, your excitement level goes up because people are excited to see a bunch of cool dinosaurs in your park. And so what you do is you take your excitement level and you're going to draw randomly meeples, little tiny meeples from the bag to place into your park. Some of those are patrons and they're good because they'll give you money and potentially victory points if you have the spaces for them. But some of them are hooligans. There we go. Some of them are hooligans, and they're going to essentially steal money and steal spots on the board. And if dinosaurs are going to eat any of your people from your park, they're not going to eat the hooligans because they're really sneaky. So they're super annoying. For me, I really like this part of the game.
Are they really annoying? Are they really annoying, Dean?
Are they really
annoying, Dean? Are they really annoying?
And for me, it's a really cool part of the game. It's something I really enjoy. But if you don't like really heavy elements of luck, this might be a frustrating phase for you because I've played a game where I've drawn half hooligans, and it really,
I loved it.
Statistically, that's not supposed to happen, but it did, and I was okay with it. But I can imagine people would be pretty frustrated about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, Dean, what do you want to rate it overall, man? What are your final thoughts? What do you think?
So for me, I really, really enjoyed this game. It's going to get an 8 out of 10 for me, something that I'm not going to turn a play down of this game. I have it in my collection, and it's not going anywhere. I imagine I'll get a pretty good amount of plays out of this. The variability for this game is through the roof.
Yeah.
There's also an expansion for this that has several different modules. I mean, no game will ever be the same, and I really enjoy that. So 8 out of 10 for me. What about you?
Why do we have to agree? Completely.
Yeah.
On a 10-point scale, we agree completely. No, I give it an 8 out of 10 as well. There's a lot of replayability, like you said, a lot of really cool and interesting decisions that are being made over the course of this game. I like that there's a decent amount of player interaction, a lot of, especially the more players that you have because the tiles are being taken, the upgrades and stuff are being taken, so I really enjoy that part of the game. So, yeah, it's a very solid game. I was on the dinosaur hype train, and it pretty much, I was really looking forward to it, so maybe it doesn't quite live up to the ridiculous hype I had, but it was very good. Very, very good. So 8 out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. Well, we have done reviews not only of Dinosaur Island, but we've done one of Dinosaur Island, the 2-player version, and we've done a comparison video as well. So if you click on the links, you can actually go and see what we think about Dinosaur Island and really do an in-depth comparison of the two. Also, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel so we can get that residents of MeepleTown on up there, and we love that. Of course we love that, don't we,
yes.
Dean?
Yes, we
do. But also we have a podcast too, and you should check that out. We actually did an in-depth review of Dinosaur Island on that. Just go to iTunes and search MeepleTown. So thanks for coming down, you think?
Yeah, thanks for coming down to MeepleTown. In Dinosaur Island, each player is going to be building up their Dinosaur Island in order to gain the most visitors by the end of the game, and whoever has the most visitors is going to be the winner. The game is broken up into 5 different phases. In the first phase, you're going to be drafting dice for building up your DNA on your player board, or you're going to be able to take dinosaur tiles or increase your cold storage that's going to allow you to take more DNA, or you can pass to gain another worker in another phase. You're going to do this by placing your scientist, and when you do this, the number matters because it corresponds with how much resources you're going to get. If you place a number 3 here, you're going to get 6 of this type of resource because 3 times this resource. You can also draft these dinosaurs based on what type of scientist you put in there. The higher scientist level is going to allow you to get better dinosaurs. That is the end of phase 1. Phase 2 is the market phase where each player is going to be able to buy 2 of any of these tiles or specialists in turn order. First, you can spend the cost to be able to upgrade the DNA on your player board based on the cost on the board, or you can buy upgrades for your player board, paying the cost that's listed on this main phase 2 board. The third thing you can do is buy an attraction. There's 3 different types of attractions, and you'll pay this cost on the main board plus the cost listed on the tile, and then place it onto your Dinosaur Island. And the last thing that you can buy is a specialist. The specialist price corresponds again with the cost on the player board. So in this case, if I were to buy the Lab Designer, I would pay $4, take this card, and move it up to my specialist spot. On your player board, you're only going to have 3 different spots for specialist. And in this case, this one's going to give me another worker, which I'll take and place here for phase 3. Phase 3 is the worker placement phase, where each player is going to be taking workers from their board and placing them out onto their spots in order to gain that action. And players are going to be doing this simultaneously. So in this case, I'm going to have 4 workers, which is what you start off with. You're able to gain more workers as you gain more specialists. And I'm going to take my worker and I'm going to place it here. And in this spot, it's just going to give me 3 coins. So I'll take the 3 coins from the bank and put them into my stash. And then every player is going to be placing the workers on the board and taking that action. And that will complete phase 3. Now, one of the important things to remember about phase 3 is this is where you're going to be able to create your dinosaurs. And this is a very important part of the game because obviously you want to create dinosaurs for your Dino Island. In this case, I'm going to place a worker here to create a dinosaur. Now, what this means is I'll look over on my island and I will pay the cost of the DNA in order to gain that dinosaur. So in this example, in order to make a Triceratops, I'm going to pay a light purple DNA, a dark purple DNA, and a pink advanced DNA. And when I do that, I'm going to take a dino from the stash and put it into my paddock. Now, you start off with 1 paddock, but you're able to upgrade that to build more dinosaurs in this little area. When I do this, my excitement level is going to go up 2, which will allow me to get points later on in the game. And at the end of the game, for every dinosaur I have in this paddock, I'm going to gain this amount of victory points per that dinosaur. And it's also going to increase your security threat level. And so now, in order for me in phase 4 to be able to not have any patrons eaten from my park, I'm going to have to increase my security level, and I'll be able to do that through worker placement in phase 3. Phase 4 is the park phase, where you're going to be gaining patrons into your park, and you're going to do this by looking at the board and see what your excitement level is. In this case, our excitement level is a 5, so I'm going to be drawing 5 small meeples from the bag, and I'm going to be putting them at the entrance of the park. The yellow ones are good. That's what you want in your park. They're patrons. And you're going to gain 1 coin for every yellow one that you draw. If, for example, I would have drawn a purple guy, this guy is a hooligan, and he's just going to take up space. So in this case, I wouldn't get money for the hooligan. I would get it for all of these guys. I would take 1 coin per, so that's 4. And then I'm going to place these into my park, starting with the hooligan, and this is how we're going to gain points. I can put 2 here because I have 2 dinosaurs, and I can put 1 here because I have 1 dinosaur, and this guy's just going to get left out. And then I'll be able to gain 1 point per patron in my park. In this case, 1, 2, 3 points, or visitors, 1, 2, 3, and then we move on to the cleanup phase. Throughout the game, players are going to be completing objectives. Whenever you have all but 1 objective card covered up, that's going to trigger the end game. Then you're going to tally up all the victory points, and whoever has the most visitors in their park is going to be declared the winner.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at MeepleTown Games, and connect with us on the MeepleTown Guild, Guild number 3407, at BoardGameGeek.com, and also subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel. And until next time, thanks for coming down to MeepleTown.